I was 16, and looking for a new gaming PC to buy on Craigslist. I had just gotten my first job, and wanted to treat myself. After my first paycheck, I was online pretty much every day, after work scrolling through any new listings, until one of them looked good. It was a 3-year-old Alienware with some decent specs listed, for only $200 in the description. It said they had recently upgraded to a newer PC, and had no use for this one, but that it still works just fine. I sent him an email, and he got back to me quickly. We exchanged a few back and forth messages, before agreeing to meet up the next day. He told me to meet him at a specific grocery store parking lot at 8 p.m. It was kinda far, so I suggested somewhere else, that we can meet halfway. But he made a bunch of excuses as to why he couldn't. He said he was going to be busy all week, and wouldn't be able to drive very far, so if I wanted it I'd have to pick it up near him. Although finding it a little annoying, I still thought the deal was worth it, and agreed to pick it up in the morning. I thought about it some more, and almost decided to call it off, but then he sent me a few videos to show that the PC was working, and also said that if there were any issues, he would refund me, so it made me feel better about it. I went through with it, driving 35 minutes to the grocery store that he said to meet at. Right as I pulled into the parking lot, I saw a truck in the far back. It was the only car in the whole parking lot, and the grocery store's lights were off, like it was already closed. I had thought the whole point of meeting at a grocery store was because it was a safe public place, so this was kind of defeating the purpose. Having already driven almost 40 minutes though, I still pulled in, and hoped it would go smoothly. I parked by his truck, and got out. The man sitting inside leaned over, and looked down from his window. He didn't smile or greet me, or anything. He just looked down like he was inspecting me, which was a really uncomfortable feeling. Then he got out. He was an older guy, like late 40s or 50s. He had brown hair that was thinning in the front, and just from a quick look at him, you could tell there was something wrong. I stood a few feet away trying to keep my distance. As he walked around and opened the back door inside, I could see the computer sitting on the seat, but not the one closest to us. It was on the other seat further inside the truck. He then pointed into the truck, and said I could take it out and look at it. His hand was still on the door, and he just watched me, waiting for me to crawl in and grab it. I stood there awkwardly for a second, as my eyes moved between him and the truck, before I noticed a small detail. The handle on the inside of the door that he was holding open was missing. It wouldn't take a genius to assume what this was. I started backing away from him, and hurried into my car. He yelled at me to come back, but I pulled out right away. The guy rushed into his truck, and instead of following me, he drove off in the other direction. There's absolutely no doubt that if I crawl into his back seat, he would have slammed the door behind me, with no handle on the inside. It was obvious it was a trap. Unfortunately, all I had was his email to send to the police, but there was no tracing it. I just hope nobody else falls for his disturbing Craigslist scam. I've checked a few times since then to see if his ad was back up for the PC, hoping to set him up with the police or something. So far I haven't seen anything, but he could just be using a different alias and trying to scam with a different item. My advice is to stay away from Craigslist. I was using Craigslist to find a condo or room in a house to live in for a few months. Most normal apartments only have 1-year leasing terms, but Craigslist was full of private owners renting out their places or rooms. Usually they were cheaper, and the owners were more willing to negotiate on the length of the lease. I had about a month to search. And I found and viewed a few places, but they all backed out last minute. Then I found another one looking about the same as all the others. It was a room for rent in a home 20 minutes from me, the person listing. It was a 22-year-old young guy. After reaching out, we texted back and forth for a few days before booking a time for me to view the room. When I drove out there and got to the street his address was on, I definitely felt a little less excited. The houses looked like they were barely standing, or just not taken care of at all. Lots of yards were overgrown and even had junk in their front lawns. I guess this is what you get when you can't afford anything better though. I hoped maybe the one I was viewing would be a little more taken care of. But when I parked in the driveway of the home, it looked like all the rest. I still figured I'd give it a shot while I was here. So I got out and pressed the doorbell. It didn't work. So I knocked immediately. Heavy footsteps came up to the other side of the door. There was a really uncomfortable pause, like maybe a whole 15 seconds. Then he opened it just a crack. I could only see half of his face. As he asked me my name, I nervously smiled and answered. Then he opened it all the way and welcomed me inside. He was tall and somewhat thin with shoulder-length hair and some tattoos showing on his neck. But it was obvious that he was not in his 20s. He was at least mid-30s, maybe even older. I was already standing inside the house at this point though, and he was leading me through the hallway. The man was actually moving really fast, like he was trying to show me everything in a hurry, and talking non-stop, which made it hard for me to think too long about anything or realize how odd the situation was. The kitchen was very old and beat up. Some of the cabinets were partially open and loosely hanging on their hinges. He only spent a few seconds in there before moving into the next hallway that had 2 doors in it. He went up to the first and turned to face me. "This one will be your room," he said, opening the door and gesturing to me to have a look. This was when I finally had a moment to catch my breath and think about this. I figured it was probably best just to continue through with the tour, since I was already in the home, and then obviously never come back. But as I stood there, having only hesitated for maybe 3 or 4 seconds though, the man suddenly got angry. Like his face and whole demeanor instantly changed. He didn't say another word, but started walking toward me. I quickly backed away, to which he matched my pace and started moving quicker in my direction. I turned and sprinted down the hallway. As I left the house, I heard him stop at the front door and slam it shut behind me. I felt so stupid for having even entered the home, after already realizing that things were not adding up. I know technically nothing happened, but everything was pointing to an awful outcome. After that I was too terrified to even try Craigslist again.